All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Penscast Game Recap Show. This is Robbie once again coming to you this evening of October 18th, 2023. We're recording this after the Penguins fell to the Red Wings 6-3 in Detroit. Before we get into the game, welcome back Snail, who has been here. This is now his third recap episode. And we are welcoming our mailbag connoisseur, Garrett, to the show tonight. He's been having some plans the other two nights we did this. So Garrett is joining us tonight. So Garrett, welcome to our new venture here.
Thank you so much. I'm just filled with joy after watching that last 2.5 hours of the Penguins ripping my heart out once again. Getting so close and yet so far away at the same time.
Not a great night if you're a Penguins fan. Now, Garrett's pretty interesting. Pretty understands this concept well of what we're doing tonight. We used to do it on a weekly basis in the past. We would do the game recaps / some news and mailbag, and we always would pack all that into one episode. But it was his idea to break everything up at the end of last season, and so we're doing game recaps more on a nightly basis after games. So let's get into this one. A 6-3 loss at the hands of the Detroit Red Wings. Started great. Couldn't ask for a better start. Evgeny Malkin, obviously fueled by the haters, all the haters and losers at ESPN. He gets on the board 53 seconds into the game. A beautiful feed from Riley Smith. Erik Karlsson gets the second assist, and Penguins are off and running, looking like they're building off the big weekend they just had. But the fun would not last. At 12:23 of the first period, Alex DeBrincat gets his fourth of the year to tie the game at 1 after the first period of play. Second period, this is where things really go off the rails for the Penguins. Ben Sherratt opens his account for the season at 5:21 to make it 2-1 in favor of the hosts. At 15:42, Andrew Kopp registers his second goal of the season. Assist from old friend Jeff Petrie and Michael Rasmussen. It's 3-1, and just when you think the Penguins might be able to get out of the period, which is a 2-goal disadvantage, another old friend comes back to strike in David Perron. His first of the season. It's on the power play. Assist from Larkin and DeBrincat, and all of a sudden the Penguins enter the final frame, trailing 4-1, and it seems like most hope is lost. But in the third period, Erik Karlsson, his first as a Penguin at 3:37. Sidney Crosby and Ryan Graves are the assists on that goal. They look like they were still getting back into the game, and they close it to a 1-goal disadvantage thanks to the man with the hot hand, Brian Rust, his fourth in 4 games. And Erik Karlsson records his third point of the night with the primary assist, and he is joined by Marcus Pettersson with the second assist. And all of a sudden, with just under 7 minutes left in this game, the Penguins are within 1. They do get to the point where they have to pull the goaltender, where Andrew Kopp puts the game on ice with 18 at 18:28, and then the Penguins tried to challenge that goal. They lost. They pulled the goalie again. Alex DeBrincat, his second of the game and fifth of the season, at 18:49, wraps it up and seals the final 6-3. So since Garrett is new, I will go to Garrett first here. Garrett started good, went real bad. They fought back, but 3 goals. I mean, it's tough against any team to come back from.
I thought the first period was something of a mixed bag. I thought Evgeny Malkin was going to set the tone for the entire night. That obviously did not turn out to be the case. So the first period for me was a mixed bag. I missed a chunk of the second period, but it looks like I really didn't miss much from the Penguins' point of view. It looked like it was a mixed bag, 50-50 in the first period. It was the Detroit Red Wings in the second period. And it was, for the majority of the third period, the Penguins slowly trying to claw their way back. It was. I think this is going to be a theme that you're going to see throughout the majority of this season. The big guns were once again on display, but I am concerned about the real lack of offensive depth because you're not. Let me go through the goal scorers here. Evgeny Malkin from Riley Smith and Karlsson. Erik Karlsson from Crosby and Graves, Brian Rust again, who has a hot hand from Karlsson and Pettersson. 33 total shots to Detroit's 29. The Penguins had 18 total shots in that third period to Detroit's 10. So, like I mentioned, it was sort of a split in the first. Detroit dominates in the second, and the Penguins sort of turn it on there in the third period. But I think you're going to see more of this. As unfortunate as it is, the Penguins go 0 for 3 on the power play. If the power play is not going to click and your superstars aren't going to carry you, you're going to get games like this where the bottom six is largely invisible and really not contributing on the score sheet. So I'm not going to get bent out of shape against a loss in Detroit in the middle of October. But at what point do we get to the season where we say, okay, we really have an issue here with the depth? The stars are great, but I'm concerned that the stars, you can't rely on 35 and 36-year-olds night in and night out to give you 4 or 5 goals a game. It's just not sustainable. So the power play is blank. The stars, they were there, they were contributing. But again, I think if you get an offensive pulse from the bottom six, I think this team is much more competitive. How you do that, I don't know. Kyle Dubas and company loaded up on players this offseason with pretty solid defensive metrics, but it was one signing after another during the free agency period where I thought, okay, like the penalty kill should be fantastic. Like it wasn't great last season, but where are the goals going to come from in that bottom six? They're too top heavy. And again, I'm not going to go out and make some sort of like explosive remark here when I can count on one hand how many games the Penguins have played this season. But is it too early to be concerned? Is that a question that we should be asking ourselves with regard to the bottom six? Anyway, those are my immediate thoughts from what was a game where they tried to come back. You could see it. I was invested really with about 9 minutes left in that third period. I was getting ready to turn the game off and be like, okay, I'll just get the rest of the score updates or whatever from the internet. And then Karlsson gets that goal, I think, to make it a 2-goal deficit. And I'm like, okay. Then I think was it Brian Rust that gets the tip to make it 4-3. And I'm like, okay, they might actually do this. They pull the goalie, they get the bad bounce in the offensive zone. That leads to the empty netter. That basically, for all intents and purposes, seals the game. But what do you do about this bottom six? It's filled with guys that are just guys in the blandest terms possible. May have good defensive metrics, but if they're not contributing offensively, then I think you have a problem.
And Snail, we'll pass over to you. How do you agree, disagree with Garrett's assessment there, and just your overall thoughts on this game as well?
Well, first off, sometimes I think I need a little bit more time for these game recaps because I get so fired up during Penguins games, dude. Like I need time to like cool down. And I guess first off, I want to say I want to start off by saying that the third period, like on a positive note, the third period was much improved compared to other third periods. Like I don't count the empty netters. I don't really count that. We actually saw a little bit of pushback from the Pens. Typically third periods are like, I mean, it feels like you're walking on eggshells. You want to bubble wrap the team. It just seems that things go wrong for the Penguins in the third period. This was like they were really making a push, and they were that goal by Rust was awesome. It really it got it. Like I felt like I kind of agree with what Garrett said. You're like, should I just turn this off? I never turn off a game though, and that got me fired up. But dude, you can't play like shit for 20 whole minutes and expect to win a game. Like that second period was abysmal. 0 for 3 on the power play, like that's inexcusable for this team, dude. Like I cannot wrap my head around. You have 4 Hall of Famers on the ice for a minute and a half with a man advantage, and you can't score 1 out of the 3 times. And that would, as we saw in the third period, just getting 1 power play goal, that could have just turned the whole game around. It would have been a different game. So inexcusable. I think that it's hard not to panic. Like, to Garrett's point, it's like, at what point do you, like, you don't want to overreact, but I don't know. We all saw how last season went, and missing by a point, that's going to be just like a term that rings out for this whole season. You never know. Like, it's like every game we lose, I'm like, is that the one? Like, is that the one point, that we need? That's an overreaction. I could admit to that, but I don't know. It's just Detroit is one of these teams too that the Penguins will be, I think, competing with for a wild card. They're trying to take a step. The Penguins are trying to get their shit together and get back into the playoffs. There's some, I think, I don't want to overreact, yes, but there's some symptoms. Like, there's something missing. I don't know if it's, I mean, yes, the bottom six, I think, needs to contribute offensively. Garrett pointed out the people scoring the goals and all the points, it's all the same people. It's the same suspects every time. We need to spread those numbers out a little bit. And I'm seeing some guys, some just passengers on this bottom six, which is what we dealt with all of last year, and that's super concerning. So I'll pass it back to you guys, but just super disappointing, and I'm not hitting the panic button, but I'm concerned. I'm raising an eyebrow. I'm suspicious. There's some things that are wrong here, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree with pretty much both of you. I think everybody here is in the same camp, and I think most Penguins fans are in kind of feel that same exact way. I will say Kyle Dubas did do an intermission interview with the TNT crew, and he basically said, yeah, he knows there's still holes. He says that he knows they're not quite there yet, and that falls on him to fix the problem. So I don't think you're going to see a sit on your hands, wait it out kind of approach with Kyle Dubas. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to go out and make a panic move between now and the game on Saturday, but I don't think you're going to be seeing, if this trend continues of no offensive production from the bottom six, you're going to see some kind of move made to jolt that part of the lineup. And again, you wouldn't have to pay that much in terms of trades to improve what is going on down there right now, because really, I think a lot can be improved by just trying something with the guys in the system. And it's frustrating. We've talked this 2 episodes previous to this. We've discussed the Jeff Carter question, but Jeff Carter, the bar is low, but he was one of the best bottom six forwards on the ice tonight. And so he can't all be on him, as much as we like to point fingers and make him kind of the bottom six whipping boy. There's 6 guys down there, and right now none of them have any goals. Big zero. All the goals have come from either the defense, the top defenseman, or Crosby, Gensel, Rust, Smith, Malkin, and even Rickard Rakell does not have a goal yet. But again, Rakell is still racking up points. He's still a big part of that second line, so I'm not going to be too hard on Rakell. He's goal scorer. He's going to go on them streaks where he scores like 4 goals in 6 games, and that'll all work out in the end. But you can't put blame, if you want to put any blame on the top 6. It's really just not getting that power play working. And we can talk about the coaching, but at some point they have to make it work as well. So that's kind of a mostly on coaching, but there's definitely some blame to be placed on the players as well. Jari tonight, not much you can do. It is what it is. I thought he was fine for the most part. On the list of reasons that they lost tonight, Jari is very low in my opinion. Detroit's much improved, but again, Snail mentioned it, that if they want to make the playoffs, this is a team that they're probably going to have to compete with for a wild card spot. And if they're better than other teams in the Atlantic, then you're going to have to face off against teams like Tampa Bay, Florida, Boston. Those teams are all going to be in the mix as well. So these games, while it is game 4, you're not making the playoffs, and you're certainly not missing the playoffs with just this loss. But there's definitely some. It's hard to even call a concern at this point, because it's just more of what we've seen, especially last season. Just no life from that bottom 6 in the offensive zone. It's the point where they can't even possess the puck in the offensive zone for long periods of time. And again, some of those guys they brought in, are great for shutting the game down, and defensive metrics are great, but you need some kind of offense from those guys. And right now, they're just not getting it. And I think overall it's extremely frustrating. I think more or less because we saw this story last year. We saw how it played out, and I think people were just begging to get any kind of production from that bottom six.
Here's what I will say, though. You mentioned Kyle Dubas's intermission interview. I did see bits and pieces of that. What I have faith in Kyle Dubas for is because, like you mentioned, Robbie, it seems like he's not going to sit on his hands. It's a hard line to try and navigate and walk on. You don't. First off, it's not like the NHL video game where, okay, if you're not getting production from player X, Y, and Z, it's not like you can just go into like the free agent list and sign player ABC and okay, this guy, we'll just plug these players in and that'll be the solution. It's a more delicate line you have to walk in terms of, okay, when do we sit down and examine? When do we come to the realization that Jansen Harkins may not be it? Noel Achari may not be it. Matt Nieto may not be it. Lars Eller, Drew O'Connor, all of these players that I mentioned had zero points tonight. Let's go down the list. Drew O'Connor, 1 shot on goal. Lars Eller, 1 shot on goal. Harkins, 1 shot on goal. Achari and Nieto, 0 shots on goal. So, maybe you get to the 10-game mark or 15-game mark if things are still up and down like a roller coaster. Then I would like to see Kyle Dubas either go to the Wilkes-Barre Penguins and see who may be on a hot start for the Wilkes-Barre Penguins, whether it be like a Sam Poulin or Nylander, whoever's down there. I'm not saying youth is the answer, but like the theme of this recap so far has been, let's be quick not to overreact to, what is this, game 4? Let's be quick not to overreact to this game, a loss to the Red Wings in October. But we have been just so accustomed to the passive nature of Ron Hextall and everything that came with his regime. He was very apprehensive to whether use the waiver wire or make a trade. He would sit on his hands, and he would come out publicly and say, yeah, we have a good group. I don't see any reason for change. I do like Kyle Dubas's more straightforward, honest approach. Almost sort of reminds me of what Jim Rutherford used to do back in the day. If Jim Rutherford told you that he was going to go make a trade to improve this team, you knew damn well he was going to go. It may not work, and either he may not be able to find a trade partner, or the person who's coming to Pittsburgh may not be great. Maybe like a Tanner Pearson kind of trade when he acquired Tanner Pearson, but you knew Jim Rutherford was not going to sit on his hands, and I think Kyle Dubas has that gene as well. So that's what I'm excited for. If we continue to see struggles, then I think Kyle Dubas, I don't think he's going to be oblivious to this situation, which I'm excited for.
No, I think you're right. I think Dubas is cut from the same cloth as JR. He's definitely not like Hextall. I just don't. I wonder what he goes out and do, because I feel like this team for so long, and even coming into this year, has touted themselves as speed, fast, which, I mean, they're not the fastest team in the league. They're not like they were in 2016-17. I mean, your star players are older. I mean, you don't have a Carl Hagelin and a Phil Kessel on your third line. Like, that was an embarrassment of riches. Let's be honest. You need some blue collar players on your bottom six, and I want to say that I think that there is something there with the bottom six. Like, they haven't shown us a whole lot. Haven't seen a lot from Nieto. It's easy to pick on Carter. Drew O'Connor had a great, whatever that tournament was over the summer where he played overseas, and preseason he looked good. I think I'm not going to pick on Drew O'Connor either. I'm not looking to pick on anybody. I think Achari could be serviceable. I think he's a good defensive metric type guy. Not a lot of bad things happen when he's on the ice. Jansen Harkins, he's quick. He fits that bill of speed. He's a dog on the puck. as he hasn't really shown up offensively, but I noticed the little details in his game that I think are beneficial for a team like the Penguins. I think there's a reason he keeps cracking the opening night lineup. He seems kind of like a Sully type of guy. I'd like to. I don't know. I don't know if youth is the answer. I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to anybody down in Wilkes-Barre since the season has started. Have either of you guys paid any attention? Is anybody down there having a hot start?
Has the season started?
I don't even know if they've been playing.
Maybe it hasn't even started.
They've been playing some preseason games, so I mean, obviously, you can't put too much stock. I mean, if we're not going to put stock in an NHL preseason game, can't put too much stock in an AHL preseason game. But I don't know if it's this weekend or it's got to be here soon. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how it plays out. Again, I don't think Dubas is going to be the kind of guy that's going to be. Again, they don't need a. They made their blockbuster trade already in August. They don't need another. The last thing they need right now is another top 6 guy. Just you don't there's literally nowhere to put him. You just need some kind of boost in that bottom 6. And at this point, you got to try something, even if it's just. I mean, maybe Hartskin isn't going to work out. Whatever, it happens. It was a free pickup. It was just a waiver claim. You dump it. Whatever, you move on from it. I think that. I mean, you got to try. Even if it is like the situation we talked about on a back-to-back, rest Carter at night and see if you can throw another body in there. Right now, they only have 12 forwards, but moves can be made. And I think, and again, he's not cut from JR in the same cloth as the way that he managed the front office, but he's definitely seems to be cut from the same cloth than JR in the not waiting around to see how things play out, hoping things just get better on their own. More of a let's go out and make a move and do something to jolt this lineup back into action.
I was looking at the Wilkes-Barre Penguins website. The season has started. They've played 2 games. They're 1-1 in those 2 games played. But again, for the same reason why it's not time to overreact here, I don't think you can draw too many conclusions from those who are performing on the other side of the state at this point in the season either. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. Do you maybe wait until the first week of November and then reassess the situation? At that point, you have almost a month of the regular season in for Kyle Dubas. Again, there are ways, like Robbie mentioned earlier, the Penguins are at a point where they made their blockbuster trade and their deficiencies aren't coming from the star players of the top 6. So in theory, if you go out to the waiver wire or you do want to make a trade, in theory, acquiring bottom 6 assets should be an easier proposition than trying to swing for the fences and acquire a top 6 sniper or someone along those lines. But, for the most part, I'm still in a wait and see kind of pattern. The Red Wings are competitive. There is no getting around that. I think they've been in that rebuild for 4 or 5
7 years.
Has it been 7 years already?
Oh, it's been
since they missed the playoffs with that last year with Zetterberg.
Yeah,
that sounds about okay.
A very, very long, prolonged, drawn out process. Again, Stevie Y wasn't there for the whole thing, but at some point it's the plan's gonna have to start coming together. They're gonna get restless.
I mean, Detroit's. It's not like they lost it like to the Blackhawks again. Like Detroit is like much improved. They have a ton of great players. They're all young. They're very fast. They got a shot in the arm with DeBrincat being acquired. Like they're a hungry team, and they've done a lot of losing over the years. So I think when a team like Pittsburgh comes into town, they smell blood and they get fired up to compete. It's not like they're losing to a lottery team tonight. They lost to a good team or whatever. So
fair point.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we covered that game. Before we close it up here, let's look ahead. The Penguins return to action on Saturday, October 21st. They remain on the road. They head to St. Louis for a meeting with the St. Louis Blues. Both of these teams missed the playoffs last year, but both have plans on getting back this season and The Penguins again right now 2-2-0, 2 regulation wins, 2 regulation losses through 4 games. But after this St. Louis game, they return home for some a stretch at PPG Paints Arena with 4 in a row. So after they get home from this St. Louis game on Saturday, I think the next 4 after that will be a very good measuring stick as to where this team's at. 4 straight home games. Not an easy schedule with Dallas, Colorado, Ottawa on the docket, and then again Anaheim, who is obviously not projected to be great this year, but 3 tough teams to open that up, but should get a good feeling of where the Penguins are here as we round out, as we head into Halloween and into November, where the Penguins will, I believe, begin the month of November out west on the road in California. So, do either of you have anything to say before I give an outro here and we close it down for the night?
No, not really. Looking at the Blues roster, couple of former Penguins there. Oscar Sundqvist, Kasperi Kapanen, Robert Bortuzzo. Good for Robert Bortuzzo for making a career over there in St. Louis. It seems like he's been there for a decade now. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't pay too much attention to the St. Louis Blues. Robbie, you mentioned that they did not make the postseason last year. I don't know what kind of position they're in, whether they're entering some sort of a semi-rebuild or if they plan on being competitive in their division. But looking ahead to that home stretch you have, those are going to be, like you said, measuring stick games. The Stars, the Avalanche, and the Ottawa Senators, who look like a very scrappy team early on this season. And then some West Coast cooking. I don't know. Is it a California trip? Yeah, it looks like a California trip.
Yeah.
Some California dreaming.
Yeah.
I will be asleep probably.
Yeah, it's gonna be. These
Do
are
you
gonna
guys
be
not stay up?
Oh,
dude, that's like 1:30 game over by the time 12:31. Now like the Saturday games at 10 p.m. That one I don't have. I'll stay up for that one. But the 2 late ones, oh man, that's with having to. I wake up at 6 to go to work, so that's a tough turnaround for me as someone who values their sleep. But
yeah, me too.
Those might be a little tough, but so that might be Snail giving us all a recap the next morning. So
yeah, we'll see about that. Depends how those games go, but
yeah.
They play Saturday, you said?
The game against the Sharks is Saturday the 4th.
Or not the California trip. This weekend. Their next game is Saturday.
This Saturday. Yep. 2 days off, and then they're back in action.
I won't be here. I'm going to the Kraken game to see them play the Rangers.
Oh wow! Check out this guy getting Kraken tickets.
Yeah, I might just record a recap by myself on Saturday night. Then I will play the role of Garrett and Snail and myself. And
just get brown liquor drunk and just start talking about the power play.
I'll get some vegan ice cream and put it on top of well-done steak.
There you go.
And have diarrhea for 3 days.
I would probably... Well, that's why I have the Pittsburgh toilet.
Yep, that's exactly
what that Garrett keeps clean. But, so if that's all...
Shots fired.
If that's all we got for this evening, then, again, the Penguins losers 6-3 in Detroit. Erik Karlsson does get his first as a Penguin, but other than that, I think we're good for this evening. But Penguins back in action on Saturday. We have another mailbag, part 2, that will be out, I believe, Friday. We are going to reconvene tomorrow, which is Thursday, and record it. So you guys can tune in for that. I know we have another slew of questions to get through this week, and I think I mentioned this to Snail on Saturday. It's nice to be answering questions about hockey rather than random off-season questions and speculation. It's nice to be talking some puck rather than talking business. But as for Garrett, his first time on the recap show, and Snail, a now seasoned veteran of the podcast recap show.
Iron Man streak.
He's going 3 in a row, but it looks like he's going to break it on Saturday. So
yeah.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But as for those two, I'm Robbie. Going to wrap this one up, and we will talk to you on the mailbag, and then again with another recap for Saturday's game. So go Pens.